This morning I want to say a few words about worrying, because we all seem to be very good at it. Consider for a moment the perspective that a quantum physicist has on this universe, on this world of ours, on this day of ours, on this very moment of ours. Quantum physicists will tell you that you and I are composed of energy, nothing else, and we may appear to be separate, but we're actually part of a bigger stage set, which is all made up of energy. It's like as if you and I are noodles of energy swimming around in energy soup. My energy affects your energy. My energy, indeed, and how I direct it, affects all energy in a very subtle way, granted, but a quantum physicist will tell you that basically what you sow you reap, what you put in you get out, what goes around comes around. I know they're colloquial phrases to describe something a little more scientific than that, but you get my point, I hope. In other words, if we want something out of life, we better pour some of our energy into it. Now, the universities of Chicago and Milan reckon we pour precious little of our energy into anything at all, because our mind is buried up our backside, if you pardon the expression. We won't take that analogy any further, because many people's lives are full of stuff that they'd prefer them not to be full of. Anyway, as I said, we won't take that analogy any further. I think you get the point. The point I'm making about worry is that worry is actually a perverse form of trying to ensure that we get what we don't want to happen. If I start pouring my mental energy into things that I don't want to happen, and if the universe works as science says it works, what I'm actually doing is trying to ensure, to the worst of my ability, that I actually bring about the things that I'm worrying about. We know that stock markets rise and fall on sentiment. We know that businesses thrive or get by or fail on confidence. These are subtle things that have little to do with the financials, little to do with actually what is being made, sold or purchased. And indeed on a smaller scale, or perhaps on a bigger scale, because our lives should be big lives, our individual lives are actually lived on the basis of confidence and sentiment, and unfortunately very often on the basis of bad sentiment and lack of confidence. An awful lot of people tell me, for example, that they have perceived inadequacies. I think it would be a liar who would say that they had no perceived inadequacies, and yet those perceived inadequacies, born out of what we learned during our formative years, have nothing to do with the reality of the moment, yet divert our energy into achieving the very thing that we want to avoid, the stuff we're worried about. How do you stop worrying? How do you drop your perceived inadequacies? How do you unlearn your stored knowledge? The answer is you don't. It's part and parcel of who we are as adults at this moment in time. Indeed, at this moment in time we are where we are because of every choice that we made, wittingly or unwittingly, that has got us to the place we are. You can't unlearn that stuff. What you have to do is stop paying attention to it. And by that I mean stop paying subconscious attention to it, because you're probably not aware that you're paying any attention to it at all, but you can take my word for it, and you can take many years' research for it. You are. What you have to do is stop giving it your precious attention. How do you do that? You develop your innate ability, we all had it as children, to pay attention to reality. In this moment there is such a thing as reality. I know as ordinary people we have our own version of reality. You have to circumvent that, step outside it, get outside the mental box you're living in. You have 5 senses. The University of Massachusetts, many years ago, in developing a program for stress management, basically told us that we need to come to our senses. You need to start paying attention to what your senses are telling you. You need to feel, see, hear, smell and taste what's actually going on without putting your own peculiar spin on it. This is not easy to do because we have been putting our own peculiar spin on it for all our adult lives. But what we need to do is take a few minutes each day to put no spin on it, to simply experience observe, and be in the moment. If we do that regularly, we get to the point that we kind of fall into that way of being during the course of the day. We actually see what's going on. We ensure that we do what we need to do to get what we want. And we stop pouring our energy into achieving the things that we're worrying about, achieving the things that we don't want. The choice is yours. A few minutes every day, it's up to you to come to your senses.